Good adventures, everybody. I'm Melissa Bonzak, and welcome to episode 142 of Books Cubed, the show where I chat with authors you should be reading. And today is the first of a couple of special shows where I am reaching out directly to authors. So if you're a reader, you can still listen because it's still great information. But if you're an author, really pay attention because there's some really good advice in today's show, plus next week's show, too. So I am chatting with Carol. I'm going to say her name. I'm going to look at the pad while I say her name because I know I'm saying it wrong. Carol Van Den Hende. She was very, very sweet and said, "Oh, you're saying it right." I kind of have a feeling I wasn't. Anyway, so she is coming on today and she is chatting about interacting with readers and booth setups for author shows. And there's all kinds of great information. So pay attention. You will also, and I mentioned this during the show, but you'll also want to go check out her website for her press kits and her book club kits. They were awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I highly recommend that you go check those out and start doing a few of the things that she does. Really, really great stuff. So let's see, anything updates of stuff. I don't think there's really anything updated. I already told you about Minneapolis Rewind Book Fair that I'll be at April 18th and 19th in the Minneapolis Fairgrounds. So you can come out and meet me there. And then in June, yes, June 13th, I believe, whatever the Saturday is, that's that weekend, I'll be at Wild Deadwood Reads in Deadwood, South Dakota. So come out to both those shows and say hello. Now, that's it. Let's get right to the interview, and I will see you after. I am so excited to welcome, and I hope I say this right, Carol Van Den Hende. Is that right?
I'll take it.
You'll take it. Oh,
It's close enough. You know, the funny thing is, even within our own family, we have different ways of pronouncing our own last name. So I'll take
same.
it.
Same. Our last name is Bonzak, and it's pronounced different no matter who says it. It's Russian ethnic. So they
Oh,
left Russia at the Bolshevik Revolution and wandered Europe and then eventually America. So if you run into Polish or Czech, they will tell you that it's a good Polish name or a good Czech name and tell you how to say it. And you'll say it and they'll say, no, 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 this way. And you'll say it and say, no, no, no. Okay, I give
and
up.
Van Den Hinde is a Dutch name. And actually, even this pronunciation that I'm using is an Americanized version of that. And clearly, for anyone who might be listening to the podcast but not seeing the YouTube or the video, I married into this Dutch last name.
Ah, yeah, my name's very English, Cushman. Very English. We all come from the same place. My father said to my husband, "Are you sure you don't want to just take our name? It's a little easier." He's like, "Well, I don't think so."
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me read Carol's bio real quick. She's an award-winning author who pens stories of resilience and hope. Her Goodbye Orchid series draws from her Chinese-American heritage and has won 40 literary and design awards, including the American Fiction Award, IAN, which is the Independent Author Network Outstanding Fiction First Novel Award, Royal Dragon Awards for Cultural Diversity and Disability Awareness. Her newest book, Dear Orchid, is a collection of true stories and short fiction told in a lyrical letter style format. Dear Orchid is for anyone who's ever loved, lost, or longed to understand the emotional truth behind the moments that shape us. Very impressive. And I got to say, I was going to try. I have a horrible cold, so I'm dying and I can't breathe real well. So I'm good. I was going to read, and I'm like, I can't be crying right now because I can't breathe. So
Oh.
I got to save it for another day. I started, and I'm like, nope, can't do it. Can't do it. So welcome today, and we are going to be talking. Oh, before we start, even every author out there, as soon as this is over, you need to go to Carol's website and look at her media kit. This is the best media kit that I've ever seen. So you need to see what she's done and do it too. It's amazing media kit. And your background, you have a background in business, don't you?
I have a corporate day job. I currently govern the responsible use of AI for an enormous consumer packaged goods and services company that I adore. So I love my day job and I love having a creative outlet through writing outside of work as well. And you're right, that background in marketing, strategy, insights does help me be an effective business person when it comes to my books. And I do speak at writers' conferences to help authors when it comes to personal brand, visual identity, and marketing.
Yeah, all very important stuff and all stuff that scares the bejeebies out of most of us authors. So we're going to talk about being out and meeting our public. So, and I know this is kind of book show season because none of us want to go out in the winter. So we're starting to get where it's a little warmer and we want to start traveling and meeting the public and going out to events. And you do a lot of events. So when people go out in public, what are some things you recommend when they're at their table that they have at their table and ways that they can interact with the public and not just sit there and have people pass them by?
I think the key is that you can spark curiosity and know that if readers are showing up to a festival or readers are coming into a bookstore where you're signing, they love books. They want to read, unless they happen to be there with their friend who loves to read. But somebody in that group is going to love to read. So don't be shy in asking somebody, what is it that they like to read? Understand them a little bit more, get to know them, and then you can customize a bit of what you can offer in a way that solves a problem for them. Because in the end, people come to reading for a reason. They're getting a benefit. They're getting either entertainment, perhaps they're getting knowledge, they're getting wisdom. And so that's one, just don't be afraid. And I often give this mindset shift trick to authors who feel like it's uncomfortable speaking about themselves because they think it's very egotistical. They think they're shining a light on themselves. But actually, if, and in my case, I write because I have a mission to inspire hope and empathy for people and planet, if they have a why behind their writing, then really we're shining a light on that why as opposed to ourselves. It doesn't have to be egotistical. For me, it's shining a light on characters with disabilities and helping to deepen empathy and hope. I love your second question as well, which is a very pragmatic question to help authors asking, what is it you should have at your table? So it depends on the event, of course, and there's going to be requirements or restrictions, and of course, follow those. But I do find it's helpful, in addition to having books, I do have a stand for each of my books. So what I do is I put my books spine out, I'll have a pile of them. And then on top of the top one, I'll have the stand with a hardcover so that people can really see. And you want to try to get more eye level. So some higher things on your table really help. And in addition, I have, once people show interest and have an interest in the genre and the type of books I write, I tell them a little bit about the backstory, and I'm happy to share how I do that. And then I also ask them for an action. I ask them to sign up for my email list. And I will, while they're signing up, I'll also tell them that my books have won awards, as you mentioned before. I'll share when I talk about the finale to my Goodbye Orchid trilogy that Always Orchid, the third in my series, is in Woman's World for being one of seven books you won't be able to put down.
Oh,
And I
nice.
think those things build credibility. The fact is, a lot of times when readers are meeting you at an event, they might not have heard of you. And if they haven't, they're looking for that credibility, whether it comes from a beautiful endorsement blurb. I have one here, for instance, from Fiona Davis
Yes.
for my newest book, Dear Orchid. She's a historical fiction author and wonderful, or it could be reviews, it could be Kirkus, whatever helps to engage and help build that credibility um, is certainly wonderful. The other thing is because I work by day for Mars Incorporated, I usually have a little something sweet on my table. And in this case, I have custom M&Ms
Oh,
in the
nice.
colors of my covers of my Goodbye Orchid trilogy with my author photo on them. And people
Oh,
love that. They think that it's just so unique and really catches their attention and helps if they have children. So if they have children there, I'll often ask the parents, are your children allowed to have M&Ms? And I make sure these are nut free in case there might be allergies. And so that is a great way to engage as well.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, and I think Oreo, they used to, you could have Oreos custom made that had a picture on each Oreo. I don't know if they still do it, but if you're listening and you're interested, after you finish listening to the show, type in Oreo cookies, whatever you need to Google. So my
And
cold brain is keeping me from thinking of words. Okay, so here at the table, you've got eye level books. You have credibility to show that you are someone who knows what you're doing. What about behind you? Do you have banners or anything? Do you have anything on your table that shows? Now, I don't have a banner on the table itself because people stand in front of the table, and I figured no one's going to see it. Especially some of the shows I do are really packed, and occasionally there's the ones where we did one a couple years ago. We had like I sold one book, and we had I think 10 people through for a 2-day show.
oh,
We
wow.
stayed in a haunted hotel, so that was very cool. Got a lot of interaction with other people, but oh, that was
Yeah.
bad. So like, what kind of things around you do you recommend to help draw people from across the room over to your booth?
I personally do not have a banner. I usually simply interact with people who are walking by or nearby. I will actually approach people and chat with them. However, I do think a banner can be a really good idea. What I would advise authors is think about what is the most compelling portion of your positioning or benefit, and stay very single-minded in terms of what visual and very few words you want to put on any banner. Because the tendency when we're new to visual design is to jam-pack too much information in there. But staying single-minded helps the reader know what do you stand for, what benefit are they going to get if they come to your booth, and helps draw them in and doesn't cause confusion. So that's the key if you're going to design a banner.
Yeah, and I recommend if you are thinking of that you find a graphic artist to design for you. Most of us are not really skilled at Photoshop and those kind of things, so it's always a good idea. Okay, so now if you're doing like a bookstore, sometimes that you can't bring as many things with you because the bookstore is not that big. So what are some of the things you would recommend if you're doing a bookstore signing?
I adore bookstore signings because you know that the people that who are coming through want books. They're there as readers. And so it's wonderful. First, think about placement. It's very helpful to be towards the front of the store. When somebody is first coming in the front door, and this isn't just true of bookstores, this is true of stores in general, they are most open at that moment to purchasing. They're feeling very wallet full. They've come in with an intention, they've come in to purchase. And so it's a great time to catch them when they're first coming in, as opposed to if you happen to see them on the way out, they've probably already made their purchase decisions, they've
Yep.
already spent money, and it's unlikely to be able to persuade them at that ending point. So when they do come in, I usually have a little something I can say to just engage them. And I often put myself in the mindset, how can I serve or help and support this person? They're here for a reason. They're looking for something. They might be trying to buy a gift for a friend. They might be looking for something for themselves. I've signed at Barnes and Noble and also independent bookstores right before a big storm. And that is so interesting because people are coming in knowing they're going to be stuck in their homes for a few days
Yes.
and wanting something to entertain themselves or to read. And so it's just helpful to understand where they're coming from. And so I will start with, what do you like to read? What brings you in today? Just something to engage. And then, therefore, I don't need to have a huge table. I don't need to have a lot of things because it's really me, my own the conversation that we're going to have that engages the reader. When I'm there, I am, though, holding my books. I'll hold my trilogy. And what I've been doing recently is asking them, do they prefer to read fiction or nonfiction? And so either answer tells me where to start. So if they read fiction, I'll tell them about my Goodbye Orchid trilogy, which is inspired by wounded veterans, and ask the question, what happens when life changes in an instant? And if they like nonfiction, I'll tell them about the true stories that are in Dear Orchid written in letter or epistolary format. And that will just start a conversation. And as I get to know them, then I'm able to customize, to what they're looking for. Oh, I'm here to buy a gift for my friend, and I'll explain what makes something very giftable. For instance, Dear Orchid has sprayed edges. It has full color interior with floral details and full color photos. It's a beautiful, not only beautiful stories, but a beautiful book as well. And in this case, in Dear Orchid's case, I also offer postcards with photos from the true stories that are in the book
Oh,
and matching signed bookmarks so that it gives them yet another reason if they're going to choose among all the books in the store that pick up one of mine. And I tell them there is nowhere else to get a signed copy of these books other than right here because you are with the author. And that is another thing. Sometimes readers don't realize that it's the author standing in front of them. So I will introduce myself. Hello, I'm Carol Van Den Hende, author of Dear Orchid, author of the Goodbye Orchid series, so that they know it's the author. Sometimes they think it's a sales representative representing a series of books. And so it's good to clear up that misconception. And the other thing to have on your tables, always have a sign up sheet or a QR code where they can go to your newsletter sign up.
yes, yes. Newsletters are so important because that's how we control our audience. If you're just worrying about like your Facebook group or Instagram group or one of the other social media apps, they can go away in an instant. I don't know if anybody remembers MySpace. You know, I loved MySpace. It was awesome. And I lost all sorts of people. And everybody else lost all sorts of people as soon as MySpace disappeared. So having a newsletter means you control how to get back in touch with your audience again, which is super important.
Yeah, it's great to stay in touch with the audience. And
Okay,
then
I'm sorry.
yeah, I was
Go
just going to
ahead.
say on my table, I often do have some visuals as well, like this poster that I showed before. I will have that on the table, but those are ancillary. And sometimes if I forget and I don't have anything other than my books, I can still have really wonderful conversations with readers.
Yes. Yes. And oh, my mind fried for a second. What was I going to say? Oh, okay. So before we started, we were talking about I'm doing a book show, my first one where I've got an 8 by 8 foot booth space. And I'm a little unnerved because I thought, oh my God, that's a lot of space. And you had said that you had done one before, and it was interesting.
So is yours indoors or outdoors?
Indoors. It's the Rewind Book Fair at the Minneapolis Convention Center in April.
I
So
mean,
it'll be a
that's
little
lovely.
cold, but it'll be in the convention center or the fairgrounds. I'm sorry, the fairgrounds.
Yeah, I mean, it's lovely that you're going to be indoors. The one I'd done was outdoors, so I had to bring and set up a tent and then tables. And so it was quite a bit. Two additional things I added to my table because I had more space, and then I have more ideas to share with you. One, my books have half Asian characters or Asian characters, some of them, some of my characters, like Orchid Page, for whom the Goodbye Orchid series is named. She's half Asian, just like my twins are. And because of that, I also will bring cloisonné jewelry, which is handmade in Asia.
Ooh.
And so if somebody's interested, and people often are, and will buy that as gifts for themselves or for others, because it links in with the character and with the story. And here's an idea for you. What about blind date with a book? So, for instance, there can be that way you can expand beyond the genres in which you write. So, I will wrap books really pretty, and then I'll write on the books what's inside, but they don't know what book they're actually getting. And they might be intrigued. And so, if when I ask them, what do you like to read? And they tell me a genre, perhaps it's not one I write, but I have it on my blind date with a book bookshelf. So that's a nice add-on. And then I do use tablecloths that are in the colors of the covers of my book. So I have a purple tablecloth with a pink, runner. And so I try to color coordinate so it looks really appealing. What I've seen done well, since you're thinking about having a bigger space than you're used to, I've seen others create a cozy space that people want to come in to sit and relax. Because
Oh,
if it's a big show and people are walking around, they might be tired. So if you had a light enough sofa or something that you could get in there, or a set of seated,
interesting.
chairs with
Yeah.
cushion, you could almost create a cozy little nook where they're like, oh, thank goodness, I just need a moment. And when they're sitting there, they can browse your books, you can put one in their hands, you can converse with them. And so that could be it's a win-win for them. And you're getting people into your booth since you feel like you have this luxury of space rather than being afraid of having that much space. Think about all of the amazing and creative ways you can use that. And encourage people to come visit you.
I like that. I mean, I'm visualizing a rug and a fake fireplace.
Yes.
Okay, probably thinking too outside the box here. But yeah, that's a really good idea. I really like that. Yeah. Yeah. Now, what is one thing that you would love to have done at a book show that you have never done yet? Something that maybe is, do you have anything that's like in the back of your mind that you thought, like me and my fireplace, which I don't think I could ever do, but
I always think there's more I could do digitally. So I do sometimes bring my laptop and I'll play the book trailer on loop so that there is a visual to attract people. I haven't noticed that making a big difference, but my laptop is a little small. So if I think about professional trade shows, and I've been to many, they can take advantage of the space by having these really significant digital displays and have something eye-catching that is basically telling the story for you, like a silent salesperson, when
yeah.
you're not able to speak to the reader yourself, and have that be the thing that draws them in. The other thing I've seen done well, that I've seen others do well, there's a book festival I go to where it's quite crowded and people are, kind of going through the paths and trying to figure out what's catching their eye and where they want to stop. Some people have created a large wheel and you spin the wheel, and depending on where it stops, you win a different prize. And they can be little prizes, right? Because we can't, as authors, sometimes we can't afford to give away huge things. But it's a nice way to engage and have somebody feel like they're going to get something. It gives them a feeling of goodwill. And so that can be just really fun too, fun for everyone.
Oh, yeah, at Gen Con, which is a giant gaming convention, they have like 70,000 people go. It's in Indianapolis. So my daughter and I were there a couple of years in a row. And last year we went by a table and they had a spinny thing. And the guy says, "Do you want to spin?" Because we were walking past. And so, yes, he caught us and went, "Do you want to spin?" And I went, "Spin? Yes, I'll spin." So we spun the thing and it came up with little archery things. And I said, "Oh, you got the archery. You get to throw an axe." I'm like, "Ooh, an axe." Well, Velcro axes. And so I just grabbed it and went throw, throw, throw. And he said, "You got the highest score we've ever had. You won a free game." He looked kind of shocked, like, "I'm sorry." And he goes, "We'll teach you how to play it." I said, "No, that's okay because this is Gen Con. We're going to sit and in a thingy and other people will join us and we'll play." That was a great experience. And we bought other stuff, I think, from him. It was,
Oh,
4 days. I can't remember. I'm sure I bought some other things from him. But yeah, that caught me and brought me back over to his booth. Now I do this at shows. I sell ebooks and audiobooks, and I have them in spinny pegboards. So these are what my ebook code cards look like.
oh, nice. Well
So
done.
yeah, so as people walk by, they see it's an ebook and they see how much
Uh-huh.
it is, and they're in color normally. I'm just was making to see if I wanted to do, I do rack cards, and I teach a class on how to do this. And but the ebooks sell really well at shows, especially if it's a show people have to travel to, because they
Oh,
don't want to have to carry home 40 pounds of books.
yes.
Even though I do that anyway, my suitcase is always filled with books and boxes and all these other things. So they sell really well. Audiobooks don't sell as well yet, but I'm working on as many authors as I can to do both things.
Mm,
I'm sure one day I'd like to walk into a show and see every single author having the ebooks and audiobooks and code cards. And you have a code that's on the back. So when they pick this up and buy it, you've made a sale. And a lot of people will
yes,
go, "Yeah, but I have a code," and they snap a picture of the code and they walk away.
that's right. They
And
forget.
I always say, and how many times, especially you should always have a little thing that tells you how many times your code has been clicked
Mm,
after you have a show. And I said, how many times, how much do you sell? And
mhm.
I'm teaching this class again at Wild Deadwood Reads, I just found out today. And last year when I taught it, I asked the room, how many of you have people that say they're going to buy and they walk away and, every hand goes up.
Mhm.
Um, and then after the class, it was great. After the class, one of the ladies told her husband about it. He went to Walmart and made her ebook code cards. And she had somebody walk up to her table and ask if she had ebooks.
Oh, wonderful.
She
Congrats.
didn't, the lady didn't buy it. I think she bought a paperback instead. But she saw that, yes, people will ask about them. And the thing also about these, which is great, and is it Damon or Damien? I always say it wrong. Who runs Book Funnel? I ran into him at a
Oh, yeah.
convention once. Yeah, awesome guy. We had a great chat. He said, "You take them as you're talking about, because I have 14 books in this series." He says, "As you're talking about them, you take each book off and you hand it to them." And what else? Because they're in different genres, and I do this. I'll say, "What do you write?" or "What do you read?" Hand each one as you're going, and they will not hand them back usually, and you've made those sales. After I've
Um,
handed so many, I stop because then I start to feel like, okay, stop. They're already holding enough. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, so that's one that I push to as many people, and I've updated this over the years, and this is my final design that I think I haven't done these at a show yet, but I think that's going to show where you can see it pretty well from across the room, especially when it will be in color. So
Yeah.
that one I'm looking forward to in April, seeing how well those are going to catch eyes. But eye catching, I think, is the big thing. Okay, so clothes wise. Okay, so here I am.
Mm.
I'm an author. I'm showing up now. If I write historical romance, I'm going to wear one of those great dresses from a historical period. And I've seen women at shows wearing those, and those are awesome. But I write cozy mystery, fantasy, and nonfiction. I'm like, I don't know what the hell to wear.
Oh, well, first of all, you are so memorable because your hair is gorgeous and you could
Thanks.
color coordinate with that. I
Uh,
have seen some authors do this well. I don't feel so comfortable myself, but I've seen people put things on their heads. I feel like because a lot of times people are making eye contact with you. So if
yeah.
you have a hat that kind of gives the feeling of the genre, or I've seen people wear those silly, headbands with whatever just to catch attention, just to stand out and to be different and, to try to embody their brand. And I think that's the thing is consistency with what you stand for. So, and I know your books have humor in them. So you could do something more humorous and it
Yeah.
would totally fit.
Yeah,
Uh,
all my genres have humor. I have tried writing straight up fiction and I can't do it.
and that's so funny because as somebody who does write heartfelt stories, I want to be able to write more humor because I think that is a skill and not so easy. Like how you land the joke, how you find the twist, how you keep attention, how you get the chuckle. Like that to me is such a gift.
So many authors besides me who get out. I mean, I have no problem talking to people once I start, but it's the getting them into the conversation, I think is the hardest thing. And yeah, there's for so many times in a row when you say, "Hi, what do you like to read?" No. And they continue working.
I think that's the key. I think that some people, re writers don't want to engage with readers because they're afraid of rejection. And that is the thing that we need to overcome and not to take that rejection personally. I
Yeah.
usually think of a little story in my mind, like if they're crabby and they say no, or they're like, no thanks, because they feel like, you're trying to sell them something. I just say, well, maybe they had a tough day. Maybe they just got some bad news. Maybe it's not a good time for them. They're in a rush. Like there's something going on in their life, probably. I'm not thinking it's me personally. They don't even know me, so it can't be me personally. And I think that helps. Of course, it stings. Of course, you'd rather have the engagement. You'd rather have the warm, friendly reader. But
Yeah.
then the majority of the time, I find people are so nice. And I've had readers give me hugs because they're so excited that they got to
Oh,
meet me. They loved hearing about my books. They loved hearing about the story behind the story. They love the mission behind my writing, the fact that I honor wounded veterans. Like there's just so many amazing, happy, warm interactions that make me love in-person events. I love going to bookstores and book clubs and all of that. I think it's a wonderful aspect of being an author.
and seeing how people react to your books in public is also a huge, huge important thing. I've got a friend who is recovering one of her series because in public she was at a show and people thought it was YA and it wasn't. But
Yeah.
the artist who'd done the drawings for the illustrations for the covers made everybody look like they were teenagers when they're
Yeah.
not in the books.
Mhm.
And so she's recovering everything. And she had a new book with her. And I was at the table next to her. And this lady walked by and stopped and pointed to the new book, which had a beautiful cover, and went, I want that. I'll be back for it. And she did. She went and did whatever she needed, came back, and she bought that book because of the cover. So
Wow.
things like that. And you look at that and go, yes.
Hmm.
Yes, yes. And like with my, I don't know if you can see behind me on my bookshelf if you're watching on the show. Okay, so, oh geez, I got the book sitting right here. Hang on. Okay, so this is one of the covers. So the first book in my series is called How to Sex Your Snake. This is one of the one-off covers. I did a bunch of different covers just to have a bunch of different ones, and this one just didn't sell. I don't know why. So, but the original cover was this gorgeous, and my son-in-law, both my daughter and my son-in-law are artists, and my son-in-law drew the most beautiful coiled snake that looked like pottery with all the different colors on it, with a compass sitting in the coils. It was so cool. It was beautiful. And so this is the first time I got the book at a show. I'm just going to put this back here. And this lady walks by my table and then is very dramatically goes, "Oh, I'm terrified of snakes," and walks a 20-foot pattern around my book. And I thought, okay, great. You got some good attention, sweetie. But, that's okay. Okay. And then I went home and said, okay, I'm going to have to change the cover because her reaction and a couple other people were just kind of very, okay, we walked by and. But I think having them and interacting with people, and also I'll tell people pick up the book, read a random paragraph. If you like it, buy it. If not, put it back.
And I love this insight, get somebody to interact with the book. So I'll often, after I introduce myself and introduce the storyline, I'll hand them the book.
Yes.
And it's just natural instinct for them to to take it. And
Hmm.
I hand them the back cover so that they can read, for themselves. And so I do find that to be really effective.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's get some interaction. Get them touching the books.
Yeah.
So, have you got a favorite show that you ever did, or a favorite signing?
Well, there's one, it's a book club actually, in which they invited me. They had read, I think at that point, maybe two of my books. And when I showed up, I felt like I was a celebrity. I think they literally applauded when I came in. It was in a
Wow.
wine bar. They had rented or used the entire wine bar space, and they had decorated the space with orchids because my main character's name is Orchid, and I have orchid in all of my titles and on my book covers.
Wow.
They had they had the wine bar create a custom cocktail list in which the cocktails were named after each of my characters. They had, even though the backs of my books have book club questions in the back of them, they hand wrote and custom created book club questions they wanted to discuss with me. They had They had gifts for me. They had a beautiful scarf with orchids all over it. They had purchased things that were in the storytelling. So in the book, my main character Orchid, because she lost her parents at a young age, what she wants more than anything is to win a work trip to Asia to feel closer to the memory of her mother. And so in the storytelling in Asia, Orchid has the experience where she tries baijiu, a certain type of liquor that's really only, really more common in China or in Asia. So they bought a bottle of baijiu of this expensive liqueur, and then they put shot glasses all around, and we all did a shot together of this baijiu
Wow.
because it was in the book. So the attention to detail and the way they basically created an experience in that room. We were living and embodying Goodbye Orchid.
Wow. Where did you find this book club?
They're local. Next time you're in New Jersey, then I will introduce you to them.
That's amazing. That sounds like an amazing book release party.
And then they did invite me back during the release of Always Orchid to come speak. And they actually had invited a wounded warrior to come as well because my storytelling is inspired by wounded veterans. And so he was able to speak about his experience. And it was just, they created an event.
Wow. Well, whoever's running that club really knows what they're doing.
Yes.
Oh, so you have questions in the back of your books for book clubs.
I do. And I have on my website, which you had mentioned earlier, I have a page for book clubs, which includes book club kits. There's little games they can play. So if I'm not there with them for a book club and they want to just run a book club party for one of my books, they have a book club kit. There are photos from other book clubs where I've spoken in person or virtually. And there's a lot of times people ask about the music playlists that I write to. So I put my Spotify playlist on that page as well.
I like the book club kit. That is a great idea. I think, okay, authors, if you're, of course, you're listening because you're here. Go to Carol's website. You want to look at her press kits and her book club kit. What a great idea! What a great idea. So, do you have any shows coming up in the near future?
I do. So I'm invited to Totowa, New Jersey's public library. They're having me speak this coming spring. My website has a events page in which all of my events are there. And so anyone can go to carolvandenhende.com/speaking is where all of my events are.
We'll have it all in the show notes, so you can go down and click a link. It'll take you right to that. And if you're in the New Jersey area, right?
I am. I'm
Yeah.
in
So
the New
if you're in the New
Jersey area.
Jersey area, a lot of states around that area, you could travel down and you could meet her in person and get a book signed. It's always exciting to meet an author in person. We kind of meandered away from where we started here. They can find you. You've got your on your events on your events page. People can find that. They can get your books everywhere.
Yep, sure. I'll mention, I mean, obviously all of the big places like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, yes, they're available. I'll mention one though that might be lesser known, militaryfamilybooks.com.
Okay.
They are a family-owned bookstore. They put a portion of their profits towards military families to support them. And I think it's wonderful. If we can support them, that would be really special.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So we'll make sure we have a link to the military families
Familybooks.com.
family. Okay, yeah. We'll put a link down in the show notes for that too. So you can go directly there and support directly. Awesome that they're doing that. So I've kept you for like forever. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your experiences with us. And once I'm able, I mean, even as you're describing your book, I'm like about to break out in tears just from the description. I'm pathetic. I'm so sick. So it just I'm a goner. I mean, commercials, I'm crying. I can't even watch TV right now. So once I'm over all my colds, I'll be able to actually sit down because one of my favorite books in the entire world is 84 Charing Cross Road. I love books that are letters, collections of letters. And if you've never read this one, have you read it?
No, I don't know this one.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You have to read this book. I will send you a link. I'll put a link in the show notes. It is between an American author and a British bookseller, and these are just letters during World War. I believe it was World War II, and so yeah, I will put a link for everybody, and I'll send you a link also. I know it's on my shelf back there, but I reread it periodically. It's just one of my favorite forms of books is letters. That's
It is
just
a really intimate format that people really love. And yes, my books have been known to bring people to tears, including Dear Orchid and Goodbye Orchid, because a disabling accident makes my main character think that he's the exact wrong person for the woman he loves. So it
oh
is hashtag bring tissues, but there's also a lot of joy and optimism and humor as well in the books.
oh good because I can't just ugly cry, so I gotta
Yeah.
I gotta have some laughs too. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on today, and everybody check out Carol's work.
It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Carol. Everything that we discussed is down in the show notes. And I will be, thanks, Carol. Everything that we discussed is down in the show notes. I highly recommend you go check out her webpage and you look at her press kits and her book club kits. Excellent, excellent setups, both of those. And then go grab one of her books. I will be diving back into Dear Orchid because my cold is pretty much gone. And if I'm going to ugly cry, I will not suffocate. Very important. So that's it. I will have another great show for you next week. And until then, go read a good book. The Books Cube theme music was written by Laura Lynn Hardy. She performed the vibraphone. Billy Tyke Miller performed percussion, and it was recorded at Mills Kids Recording in Huntsville, Alabama.